the 3rd of November, and we're talking about the PMP exam content outline. So over here you can see the very first thing PMI wants you to be able to do is people related. So it's all about managing conflict. Remember when we talked about conflict, I showed you the Thomas Kilmann conflict mode instrument. So in the book, the immersion book, we go straight into conflict, and you got these options: avoid or withdraw, compromise or reconcile, force or direct, collaborate, problem solve, all that stuff, we go over it. So PMI wants you to be able to look at a question and say, maybe you're a project manager on a project, 2 team members are arguing, what do you do? Do you resolve the conflict for them? Or do you facilitate the resolution of it? Or do you give them a whack and send them to bed? Like bad children. So, of course, the right thing to do is to facilitate. Okay, so that's what this is talking about. So just being very good with your compromise, reconcile, force, direct, the whole agile philosophy of our team members are mature. We hired adults, give them the environment and support they need, trust them to get the job done. What document could help us, though, in agile to know how to resolve conflict? Do you remember? What's that document called? Anyone remember? It's a contract of sorts. What do we call it? I know it's been a long day, I'll tell you. It's social contract, team agreement, remember? So that's what that is all about. All right, task 2, leading a team. You should be able to lead a team as a project manager, scrum master, but it's really more like situational leadership. Do you remember the situational leadership model? Did you have questions about that today? Hersey, Blanchard model? Any questions about the directing style, the coaching style, all that stuff. So that's what this is about. So PMI doesn't want you to be a one-trick pony when it comes to leadership. They want you to be able to lead people based on where they're at. So that's what this is about. So you could get a question that says, Phil is a new member of your team. He is a little bit demoralized. What should you do? You know, how should you lead him? And you've got options, that kind of thing. All right, number 3, support team performance. So as a professional, the PMI wants you to think agile, give the team the environment and support they need, trust them to get the job done. Number 4 is empowerment, so empower the team. You know, my mentor, John Maxwell, he says, only secure leaders give power to others. So the idea of giving away power is empowerment, and they want you to be able to trust the team, being agile or predictive alike. Number 5, ensure team members and stakeholders are adequately trained. So they'll give you questions that test you on, do you know that you should actually put budgets and money aside for training? Do you know that you should pair Jeff and Phill to do cross-training and to do pair programming and things like that? So they'll test your understanding of the importance of training. Building a team, we talked about the 5 stages of team development. Do you remember any of those? Forming, what's the next one? Storming, that stuff, we talked about it. Did you get questions on it today?
No.
It's there on the real exam, probably. Number 7, address and remove impediments, obstacles, and blockers for the team. So as a scrum master, that's what you do. Number 8, negotiate. Negotiate all manner of agreements. So you know, a few days ago we were talking about pushing back and trade-offs. That's what this is. Don't just roll over and say, well, I guess I'll have to make it happen, when you very well know that you can't. Don't lie. That's what this is saying, right? Don't lie, push back, be professional about it. Number 9, collaborate with stakeholders. No brainer, you got the memo on that one. Number 10, build a shared understanding. So lessons learned, having all those retrospectives and things like that, it helps. And then when there's a misunderstanding, get down to the bottom of it, define the problem, identify the root cause, generate alternatives, choose the best alternative, that stuff we talked about. Number 11, engage and support virtual teams. So a virtual team is geographically dispersed. We got the memo on that. You see why I'm saying the exam is going to be quite straightforward for us here? Because we already do this stuff. I mean, we meet on teams regularly. We understand the barriers to that, and we understand the advantage of it. Number 12, ground rules. This is what I was talking about. Team charters and so on. Number 13, mentor relevant stakeholders. So the Scrum Master is a mentor to A, the entire organization, or B, the team. Which one? Is it the team? Is the entire organization? You see, so when you read through the content, you'll discover that there's some nuances. And if you look at the Scrum Guide, which I asked you to read, they stress that the Scrum Master is a messenger to the entire organization. So go to scrumguides.org and read this stuff again, because you'll be amazed at the little subtleties that we miss. Number 14, promote team performance through the application of EI. So emotional intelligence, understanding, oh, Phill seems to be an introvert, or this person seems to be an how do I communicate with this individual? How do I decode when he's not happy because he doesn't wear his emotions on his sleeves? It's very quiet. How do I interact with him and people who are like that? That's the mindset. All right, the second domain out of the three is process. So this is a no-brainer because management makes us do it here. Move with urgency. Deliver business value incrementally. You know, it's funny, I was having a conversation with someone who told me about a project that had done all that they believed they needed to do. The product owner thought this was all that management wanted, and boom, they deliver, and the people are like, no, this is wrong. Well, in task one, we want to deliver it incrementally so that if we're off track, we understand we're off track. So that's task one. Task two, manage communications, have a plan, and manage it. Task three, we did a very robust risk register on day one. So task three just says manage your risks. Plan, identify, qualitative risk analysis, quantitative risk analysis, plan the responses, implement the responses, and monitor the risk. Task four, engage stakeholders. So if the stakeholder is disengaged, whose fault is it? Ours. You got it. I told you, you're gonna do great on this test. It's the project manager and the team, right? Task five, plan and manage budget and resources. So in budget, we talk about plan, talk about estimate costs, roll them up, monitor the costs and stuff like that. And then resources, human equipment and what? Human equipment, what's missing? Materials. And what else? Supplies, right? Cash, well, you know, cash translates into actual. So when PMI says resources, they're talking about the HEMS factor. Remember I told you HEMS, human equipment, material supplies. Human equipment, material supplies, and facilities, right? All right, number 6, plan and manage schedule. This is a no-brainer. We looked at this yesterday, but also be aware that when they say schedule, they're talking about anything time, which could bleed into agile, story points. Task 7, plan and manage quality. Fitness for use, conformance to requirements, all the stuff I mentioned. Plan and manage scope. You already know this. Integrate project planning activities. Remember the big old plan I showed you that had everything together? That's what they're talking about, because you have plans for all the knowledge areas, but you gotta integrate them. Task 10, manage project changes. Do you remember all the steps I showed you? Someone asked verbally, then you put it in writing, into a change request, then you put it in a change log, then it goes to the change control board, then the change control board reviews it, then they make up their mind and put it into the change log again, and you share that with the stakeholders, and then you implement it, that stuff. Task 11, plan and manage procurement. So if you have a make or buy decision and you decide to buy, then all those things, plan procurement management, conduct procurement, control procurements. All right, manage project artifacts. You folks know about this very well. When we say artifacts, we're usually talking about document or a plan or a baseline, something like that. We have 3 artifacts in the world of Scrum. Number 1 is, you folks have been, I think you've been pushed to the limit. I'm sorry. Let me tell you what it is. Product backlog, sprint backlog, and the increment. But in the world of predictive, we have a lot of other artifacts, baselines, plans, and things like that. So far, is it making sense? I'm just kind of going over it casually, because I know you're tracking because you do this stuff. It's not outside of what you do. All right, number 13, determine appropriate project methodology. Hello, we know this because in Central, we can choose to do the whole predictive thing or agile. I heard that agile is now an option in version 3. So this is really asking, am I going to be agile in my approach? Or am I going to be predictive? Or am I going to be blended, right? Hybrid. Task 14, establish project governance structure. Again, our Central is a very good example because that's governance. Governance is putting in place a structure that you can follow and not get lost, that you can follow and conform, to whatever management wants. So when we talk about governance, we have here determine the appropriate governance for project and define escalation path. So in the PMBOK, they say governance is the framework within which authority is exercised. So we have our senior level authority. Without governance, they're not going to be able to make us conform to what they need. So that's governance. Number 15, manage project issues. What is the difference between a risk and an issue? A risk is an issue waiting to happen. A risk hasn't happened, it's an uncertain event. An issue is certain, it's happened. It's happening right now, so that's the difference. So when you get a question that says, a project manager discovered a risk, what should he do? A, put it in the issue log. No. Risk register, yes, and things like that. All right, number 16, ensure knowledge transfer for project continuity. Just make sure that people are sharing knowledge. It says discuss project responsibilities, outline expectations, and confirm the approach for knowledge transfers. What happens when there's the single brain on the project who knows how everything works, and then they leave? They about kills the company. I was doing business with one company, and there's this single guy who knows how everything interconnects, and he's the only one who knows it. And I'm like, you folks are playing with fire. If it's hit by a bus, you are out of business, because you got everyone doing their work and one person who's the brain. 16 says don't do that. Make sure that there's knowledge transfer. Number 17, plan and manage project or phase closure or transitions. In the world of Agile, we're always ready to close. At the end of the sprint, we don't care if we get into the next one. If product owner says, time out, that's it, it's okay. But in the world of predictive, everyone's having a fit when they say, we're closing suddenly. Why? Because we're generally not ready. In the world of Agile, we do our retrospectives frequently, but in the world of predictive, it's like a dinosaur. We don't do the retrospective or the lessons learned till we get to the end and think about how much we missed, because we could have taken those lessons learned quicker, put them back into the project, and gotten better. But in Agile, we are sensible. We do it at the end of every 2 weeks, put it back into production. All right, we have 4 things left and we're done. Just 4 simple tasks. So again, these are the tasks, and then these bullets, we call them enablers, all right? So we're going into business. So the first one says, plan and manage project compliance. Hello, you folks are very compliance driven, right? If people are not wearing their PP&E stuff, you tell them, hey, you call them out. Do they get fined? They get in trouble somehow, but you're very compliance conscious, which is good. So you obviously get task 1, manage compliance. If there's confidentiality rules, safety rules, follow them. Otherwise you could be in big trouble as a project manager. Task 2, evaluate and deliver project benefits and value. So it's twofold. What is value? The net benefit. So don't just think about value nebulously, actually go down into the specifics of benefit. And that's the thesis for Agile, right? Delivering value consistently. Task 3, evaluate and address the external business environment changes for impact on scope. So you should always be looking around like radar, just trying to pick up what's changed in the business. I was speaking to someone, name withheld, and the person said, Phill, I discovered a loophole in the business environment, or an opportunity. And you know what happened next? Maximize the opportunity. Patent, product. That's what business is about. So you always need to survey, because you never know when you'll get that bright idea to do what the business environment doesn't have. I gave you an example of how these colleges said, well, AI, we're going to ban it. And the next thing they're like, oh, we're leaving money on the table. Let's have courses in AI. So from going against AI, they now know we have to exploit it. And that's what the business environment is all about. Number 4, final one, support organizational change. So if the organization needs to go through change, guess what? Your project, in a lot of instances, helps that change. Not every project is for a product. Some projects are for business process re-engineering. Our friends at St. James, they know that. I had a lot of people in my last class who are business process re-engineers. And that's what this is saying, support organizational change, because sometimes your project may necessitate that. All right, so that's it. Let me stop the camera and see. Thanks, Jeff.